even more moves on the horizon. The Spurs just pulled off one of their biggest trades in the history of their entire franchise, and they're not done. They're pursuing more. They understand what assets they have, and because of what they didn't give up, they have the chance to go get more, and we're going to break it all down here on Spurs Digest with your host, Keenan Warner. And if you guys haven't yet, make sure you take a spur of the moment to get every Spurs moment by hitting that subscribe button so you don't miss all the great content we have going forth. Josh put together a great instant reaction video of the trade, the second trade heard around the world. Brian did a deeper dive into that. Go check those out if you haven't seen those yet. All of us are so excited for what is to come with De'Aaron Fox. This all started with Luka Doncic and Anthony Davis, and things went crazy. Even that had Spurs ties to it, and we'll probably get into that here in just a second. But Brett Siegel, lots to unpack on the trade front right now, 100%. The Spurs can make further moves to upgrade their roster, and the Bulls are open to selling anyone. Nikola Vucevic coming next. Big names like Jimmy Butler and Brandon Ingram are still out there. Do I think we're going headhunting for them? Not exactly. I don't think that that's their next move, but in saying that, there are those big dominoes. Then there's people like Cam Johnson, Chris Boucher. Like, there are so many assets that are still on the board, and with what this last 24 hours has produced, I've saw two mega stars move. I've saw a borderline superstar, a definitely perennial all-star caliber player move, another all-star talented player in Levine move. So much has gone on in the NBA deadline that there is more here. And then Bobby Marks, 6 of our next 7 picks. This is the greatness about it. We only gave up we didn't give up Stephon Castle. We didn't give up Devin Vassell or Jeremy Sochan. We still have all of these picks here. We have 6 of the 7 next for us. The only one we gave up is a 2027 first round pick, and that should be 24 or worse, or technically better in that sense, 25, 26, and so on. We still have the swap and the 2 Atlanta picks. We have all Atlanta picks, and they shouldn't be good for years. They've lost 8 straight, and Jalen Johnson's out for the year. You don't know what they're going to do with Tre Young. They want to tank, they may want to tank, but they know they don't have their picks, so they can't even go in that direction. We don't know what Boston's going to be in 2028, and then, as I kind of mentioned earlier, we do have the Mavs picks in 2030. Anthony Davis, Kyrie Irving, and Klay Thompson in 2030, I believe all will be 36 or 37 years of age. They may not be playing basketball in the NBA anymore, let alone for the Mavericks. That pick, only top 1 protected, that could be something that we utilize. That is something, that could be a situation, rest in peace to Len Bias. That could be a situation, Boston wins the championship with their best team, 85-86. They get the number 2 pick in the draft, and they draft Len Bias. Unfortunately, we know what happened there. He doesn't get to play. But it could be a situation where the Spurs go late, deep playoff run, even gets to a finals, win a championship, and then they get to retool with one of the most talented players within that draft. We'll see what that Dallas pick is going to be. That's going to be a very important pick. But ESPN Plus, they did a trade grade. How does Fox with Wemby? It's phenomenal. Here's the trade overall for people who don't remember or just need to see it again, of course. De'Aaron Fox, Jordan McLaughlin, we've got them. Zach LaVine, City Cisco, multiple first-round picks to the Kings, and they get a few second-round picks. And then the Chicago Bulls get Zach Collins, Tre Jones, Kevin Huerter. And then if they're a bound first-round pick back. We essentially do not give up anybody of actual value. The best player out of that whole thing is Tre Jones. He has an aspiring contract that we weren't actually going to re-sign next year. Spurs, kudos to the Spurs. We got him without needing all the other pieces. We still have all of the young talent. Charles Bassey was taking the minutes from Zach Collins. We didn't even need him there. Keldon Johnson and Vassell, two guys who were spoken heavily. We're like, we got to get rid of them if this is going to go down. We got to keep Castle, but Vassell can go. Keldon Johnson can go. Some people wanted Vassell. Some people wanted Johnson. Some people wanted Sochan. Everyone wanted Castle. And it came down, we didn't need any of them. We just needed that third team, and they just needed to get Zach LaVine. Love it. But to break down a portion of this basketball, to break down why this is so important, because we have all of those assets. I laid that out because we get to this. To set up Fox and Wemby for success, the Spurs are going to want to put maximum shooting around them. They still have, obviously, big picks that they can move off of. That's why I highlighted those. They still have players that they can move off of if need be. Keldon Johnson doesn't have to stay. It's great that he did, but it's not like he is a mandatory piece to this puzzle. We still have other pieces to move. And most importantly, we have a guy in Chris Paul who is 39 years of age. He's good for two things. One, he's an expiring contract for a younger team. If a younger team wants to get him, say going into next year, you had a team like the Hornets. The Hornets really wouldn't, but the Hornets are like, okay, we've got this contract here. We kind of don't need him. Let's go. Or like the Grizzlies were like, yeah, we'll trade you Luke Kennard so you get a shooter, and then we can just get rid of Chris Paul in a year. Buy his contract out, he gets to the buyout market or something along those lines. Or he can go to a veteran team that's looking to win a championship, like a Milwaukee Bucks kind of situation. Obviously, they wouldn't be really needed now the way the Lakers are going, but the Lakers would have been a destination for him. Teams like that, those are the two style of teams that Chris Paul would fit right now, and we have the pieces around that plus picks to make Chris Paul trade it even more advantageous and and intriguing and exciting trade. But we don't shoot well. I think we're 22nd in the league. We shoot 35% from three. We don't shoot well. Vassell has been shooting better, but he hasn't been great. Keldon Johnson, he's hit or miss. Stephon Castle's not really a good shooter. Jeremy Sochan doesn't really shoot anymore. So we need shooting, especially with a guy in Fox who can shoot. He's about 33% from the three-point line. He's not his game. His game is getting downhill. But we have players out there like Cam Johnson. We have players out there who can actually make a difference on this roster, and that is going to be the intriguing portion. It doesn't also have to be a big trade. There is a buyout market, and we've got plenty of cap space. There's going to be people who are bought out of their contracts, and if we just get role players, it doesn't have to be anything big. You can just get role players who can stretch the floor, that can give you 12 to 15 minutes a game. The Spurs are going to be in the market for those type of players. They always have been. That is where the Spurs have made their bread and butter. They get those guys like a Boris Diaw type of guy who not really on too many people's radar, but you know what we're going to do with him? We're going to have him play great high roll, high low. We're going to have him stretch the floor a bit for being a big. We're going to have him play quality defense on the other side of the ball. We're going to get those style of players and play able to plug and play. That's what the Spurs do at an extremely high level. I mean, beyond that, maintain success. All but one of the future first-round picks is assets. And then, obviously, that Atlanta pick is just so important because Jalen Johnson just got injured. That Atlanta pick really could be Cooper Flag. And listen, this channel went nuts for De'Aaron Fox. Let us get Cooper Flag and see what happens. We might not have a channel anymore. We might blow it up. It might just be all over. The league's over if that happens. The league is all over. But we see this screenshot right here. This is the Minnesota Timberwolves at the 7, Phoenix 8, Dallas 9, Sacramento 10, Golden State 11, San Antonio 12. We obviously know we have the Lakers, Clippers, and other teams. One of those teams could possibly fall, but this is where we're shooting for. We have 6 games before the All-Star break that we're about to highlight here in just a second. We need to get to 500, and then we can get De'Aaron Fox in there. We can get that going, and we can get ourselves into a play-in. And then when it comes to a one-off game, when you have a superstar, when you have a star, when you have pieces around that, yeah, we can get it done. The goal is to get to the playoffs this year, not just to play in the playoffs. Even if we don't win a round, if we're seeing the Oklahoma City Thunder and we take them to a tough 6 games, getting some playoff experience, especially with the moves that we made, that is going to be key and pivotal for this. We've got the Grizzlies coming up tomorrow. Actually, technically, we got the Grizzlies coming up later tonight. Brian's actually going to be doing a pregame video on that, so make sure you're looking for that as well. We got the Hawks, a game that we twofold, we win and they lose. The Hornets, the Magic, the Wizards, the Celtics, and then we come back from the break and we got the Suns at home. That'll be De'Aaron Fox's first home game. That will be a light. I cannot wait for that. But we have 3 truly we should win games. The Magic have been playing tough even with all their injuries. The Celtics, that's going to be a great game. And that's a game that's a winnable game in the Grizzlies. If we go 5-1 over this stretch, which is highly possible, no one has to worry about trade rumors anymore or anything. They don't have to worry about big moves. The big move has been made. Now this team can just go out there and focus on basketball. And when they do that, they showcase themselves at an extremely high level. But lastly, I wanted to just point this out real quick. Over the last 3 seasons, this is with Sabonis, Fox has been among the NBA's most dangerous pick and roll scorers. 8th among 80 players with at least 500 attempts over that span, shooting 54% in pick and roll situations per second spectrum tracking. You can't switch. You could switch off of Sabonis a little bit easier just because Sabonis doesn't have the range Wemby has. Sabonis obviously is a great passer. He's a bigger body than Wemby, and he's got great moves, so it was tough with him. You had a guy who is a better lob threat, more range, more handle. Sabonis is a better passer, don't get me wrong, so it's not like he's going to have a better, a great, difference there. But Wemby can pass. That pick and roll is going to be at such an elite level, it's not even funny. And then you come along, if we get more shooting around them, it's over. We need Stephon Castle in the offseason to uptick. We also need him for the remainder of the season to uptick. But the San Antonio Spurs, with this trade, put themselves in the best position they've been in since the 2017 Conference Finals, Game 1, with about 3 minutes left. Oh, no, not 3 minutes left. Sorry, about 3 minutes left in the first half, I believe. Roughly around that time. Right before the guy whose name's not mentioned's injury. They obviously came off of going to 2 finals. They came off of a championship. Couple years, 66 or 67 win season. Yeah. This is the best position the Spurs have been in since that moment. And it's so great. It is so great. When you want to win a championship, you need either a super team or you need as follows. You can go through all of history, and there are outliers. The Mavericks team in 2011. If you want to go back to the 64, 65, 7, there's some teams that are some outliers in history. But for the majority of things, you have a super duper star. You've got a star next to him. You've got a very good third option who, if he needs to, can take over a game. You've got a glue guy. You've got some couple veterans and a solid bench. You can go 8 to 10 deep. The Spurs check all of those boxes now. Wemby superstar, check. De'Aaron Fox second star, check. Third option who can win you a game if need be, Devin Vassell, check. Glue guy in Jeremy Sochan, check. Role players that are some veteran role players. You have Chris Paul and Harrison Barnes on this roster exactly today, who have been to finals. Harrison Barnes has won a championship. And then you've got some solid role players, Keldon Johnson. You've got obviously Bassie knows his role, knows what he is doing. Julian Champagnie can shoot. And I didn't even name the X factor, which is Stephon Castle, who can take this thing through the roof. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about the next moves for the San Antonio Spurs, and you don't have to think massive trade. Just think next move. What would you guys like to see? Who would you like to see in San Antonio? This has been Spurs Digest with your host, Keenan Warner. I appreciate all of you. Go Spurs, go. And I'll be seeing you guys very soon.